Hi, welcome to part 2 of ATGEL. So this is the expression language extension for ATG that allows you to use repository items as kind of native JSTEL objects. So let's have a look at some of the code in the sample library that you get with ATGEL. First of all, let's start from the web XML. So the web XML is the key place where the additional expression language context listener gets added in. So this is the extension that allows the JSP pages to understand that they need to look through and see if there are repository items as it goes through the dot notation. Okay, so let's go off and have a look at the source of that one. Okay, so the ATGEL context listener, and you can see that it implements a servlet context listener. And here we get the default one, and I add 2 extra resolvers to it. So by default, the application context has got a number of resolvers. It understands how to resolve through beans, so to execute get methods. It also understands how to get through maps and lists. So I add 2 extra ones here. The first one is repository item. So it'll understand how to do that when it's a dot on a repository item, that it needs to do a get property value of. And the next bit is to do I18N resolver. Okay, so let's have a look at the first one of these. And you can see the methods along here. So the method that is actually most of use to us is get value. So get value will come along and we'll get the repository item and we'll get the property value. So it's all quite simple. So it works out, is it resolvable? And basically it's resolvable if it's a repository item. The I18N one does a similar type thing, but I've added a special marker, which is the key string I18N, so $I18N, and then you put what you want it to resolve. So I18N dot hello will then go off and translate through the repository the text. And there's a simple implementation of I18N which can be extended to suit your needs. We have a quick look at index.jsp. You see something curious here, that I'm referencing $profile, but $profile has never been defined. That actually gets defined inside the default parameters pipeline server. So there's an ATG pipeline that all the requests go through, and as the request comes in, all these default parameters are added. So default parameter pipeline server has a reference to the implicit components, and they're simply added to the request. In the previous video, I went through the nucleus functions. So these are just standard functions that can be put in inside the JSP page. Here we've got examples of some root resolvers. So a root resolver lets you use the JSDL out of the context of a JSP page. So let's have a look at that. So that allows you to use templates and to be able to pick out templates and put expression languages within inside those. We've also got a lot of tools that come with this sample project. There's a user locale pipeline server, which is primarily used to help with the translation and the IATN context resolver. So what this one does is it simply does a resolve of the user's locale by this. Use locale services gets the locale, and then it puts on to user tools, set the current user's locale. So the reason it does this is it does it as it comes through the pipeline servlet, and it only does it once, and it only does it if it's not null. And this uses thread local to be able to store this sort of context. So that makes it quite efficient. I found that resolving the user's locale out of the locale service is quite an expensive operation. So I put something inside the request pipeline to make it more efficient, put it on the thread local, and that works quite quickly. A couple of the other tools which are unrelated to ATGEL, which come inside the sample application, are bin utils. So these are simple utils that allow you to do expression language like statements inside Java code. So it's kind of the other way around. In example here, we want to get the merchant's name, so bin utils get nested property off a commerce item, and here we've got auxiliary data, catref, merchant name. So in this example, this will either result in a null or it will evaluate to the correct thing. But this puts all this in one line rather than having multiple nested if statements to check if the first is not null, to check if the next one's not null, etc. So this can dramatically improve the readability of your Java code, and you can see that it understands lists as well. So you can do kind of simplified JSP-like evaluations inside here, and all the source code is down below there for that. We also have a comparable comparator. So this is reasonably well documented here, and it just allows you to do sorting of Java lists and sets quickly, but not at the database level. So this is a kind of in-memory sort. For example, if you've pulled back a list of 100 items and you're storing that in the user session, and maybe you want to sort it, allow the user to be able to sort them by different criteria. So then, having already got that 100 items for that user, you can sort them in memory with this, and it's quite abstract. So you can sort it basically on any key that is inside the items. So you construct your comparator, and you tell what you want to compare on. So a.b.c. So this is using dot notation to go through the repository items, and you pass in your result, your list that you want to be sorted, and then it will go off and sort it. And it'll return you a different list. Okay, we've got the component resolver. This is a simple way to resolve components in ATG. So this will use the request object if possible. If not, it will go to global object. And it also allows you to do dot notations by using the bin utils. An example of this is inside the implicit components. So this is the component name, and then this is passed through bin utils. Pass it through that whole string, and then it will use dot notation to go off and get the current card. I think that's about enough for one video. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.